Well, the Kremlin swiftly reacted to those remarks Saturday, denouncing moments ago Europe's choice to adopt a, quote, contradictory, confrontational attitude rather than working towards improving relations. For more, then we're going to cross to our correspondent, Emmanuel Chaze, standing by in Kyiv. Hi, Emmanuel. So, we just heard those remarks from the Kremlin. It doesn't look like for now that the Kremlin spokesperson has addressed that demand that they sign on to the ceasefire. What do you think are the chances that Russia will accept it?
Well, I think the chances that Russia would accept the ceasefire are, just as before, quite slim. We've just heard more gaslighting coming from Moscow towards Kyiv and its allies, making Kyiv responsible for this war, responsible for the fact that fighting continues, maybe forgetting that this is a one-sided aggression against Ukraine and that Ukraine is in a defending position there. What Keir Starmer was just reminding, and we've just heard him. So this shows just the complexity of this proposal. It's been a proposal that has been made on March 11th by the US. It had been supported by Ukraine's allies as well as by Kyiv. Kyiv had said they would agree to an unconditional and total ceasefire of 30 days, provided that Russia stops its aggression against Ukraine. And Moscow has shown time and again that it wouldn't even comply by its own so-called ceasefires. We've seen that during Easter, during the so-called ceasefire announced by Vladimir Putin. We are seeing it now as well. Soldiers reporting on the situation on the front line are registering violations of the ceasefire announced a few days ago by Vladimir Putin around the 9th of May. So if anything, what happened today is a show of support of Ukraine by its allies. It's a strong political, a strong diplomatic message that Ukraine's allies continue to support Ukraine. But as for a ceasefire, as long as Russia also doesn't comply with it, doesn't decide to also, silence its own weapons against Ukraine, well, it has very little chances to be implemented anytime soon.
So, Emmanuel, in the meantime, as we await a real response from the Kremlin, what did Ukraine get concretely out of this umpteenth show of support from European allies in Kyiv today?
Well, this visit was good news for Ukraine. Why? Because this gives the possibility for the Ukrainian government to discuss with their counterparts what could be done in terms of security guarantees. We know that Kyiv wants several things. They want an increased pressure against Russia when it comes to sanctions. Why? Because the weaker the Russian economy, the better for Ukraine, because it means that Russia cannot fund its own war of aggression against Ukraine. The second guarantee, and that's quite hypothetical, if there's a ceasefire implemented for 30 days, if it leads to a more lasting peace, Ukraine would want to have guarantees as to future aggressions, and it wants security guarantees from its allies, for example, in the form of a peacekeeping corps, foreign troops coming on the Ukrainian soil to guarantee any ceasefire, any peace that would be brokered. But we are very far off this stage, at this stage, and this proposal today by Kyiv and its allies is awaiting an official response from Moscow. But I would say, at least among the Ukrainian population, there is very little hope that Moscow would all of a sudden decide to stop its aggression against Ukraine.
We'll have to wait and see then if that pessimism is justified or not then. Emmanuel Chaze in Kyiv, thank you very much.